Have you ever wondered if you're living or just carrying everything that once broke you? Sometimes the past isn't loud, it's just heavy. You wake up in the same bed, the same light through the curtains, but inside, you're still living a memory you never made peace with. And no one ever taught us how to let go. They only taught us to be strong, to hold on, to endure. But maybe the strength we need now is to loosen the grip. Sometimes what we're holding on to isn't a thing. It's a version of who we used to be. There was a woman in her late 60s. She had spent most of her life taking care of others. 3 kids, 1 husband, and a home that was always full, but rarely quiet. She used to love drawing before the diapers, before the hospital visits, before the years blurred together. One day, her daughter found an old sketchbook in the attic. She brought it downstairs, smiling. "Did you draw this, Mom?" She paused, touched the cover, and said, "I used to, a long time ago." Later that night, after the dishes were done and the house was still, she sat alone at the table. The sketchbook was still there. She opened it again, looked at every page, slowly, like revisiting a part of herself she hadn't spoken to in years. She didn't say anything. She didn't make a plan. She just turned to a blank page and picked up a pencil. She didn't draw much, just a flower, something simple. But the next morning, the pencil was still there, and the chair was still slightly pulled out. Sometimes letting go isn't about leaving behind. It's about returning. When was the last time you did something just for yourself? She didn't draw much, just a flower, something simple. But that night, she picked up a pencil not to prove anything, but to remember who she used to be. And somehow, in the quiet, she touched a part of herself that had waited quietly for years. That small moment wasn't about the past, it was about possibility. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. That wasn't written last year, or even last century. It was written over 2,000 years ago by a man named Laozi. He wasn't a conqueror, not a king, not a prophet. He was a quiet thinker who walked away from power, chose stillness over noise, and wrote one of the wisest books in human history. The Tao Te Ching, just 5,000 words, but still read by millions today. And in those words, he left us a path, not for trying harder, but for becoming softer, a path that begins by letting go of who we think we have to be, so we can finally become who we were meant to be. When Laozi wrote, "Let go of what I am," he wasn't just talking about ego or ambition. He was speaking to anyone who has ever lived too long in a role that once made sense, but no longer feels like home. Like her, she wasn't trying to become someone new. She was just tired of forgetting who she used to be. Because when you've been the strong one for too long, the dependable one, the quiet one who keeps it together, you start to lose sight of the parts of you that never got to speak. You don't realize it at first. You just feel heavy, a little lost, like something inside you is waiting, but you're not sure for what. That feeling isn't a weakness, it's an invitation to stop gripping so tightly to who you had to be, so you can make room for who you might still be. We're taught to hold on, to roles, to labels, to what's expected of us. From a young age, you learn. Be responsible, be strong, don't disappoint anyone. You become the one who always remembers, the one who keeps the family together, the one who shows up even when she's tired. And people admire you for that. They say you're so dependable, so steady, so strong, but no one ever asks, are you tired? And that becomes who you are. Not because you chose it, but because it worked. But sometimes even good roles start to feel too small. Even strength starts to feel like silence. And letting go of what you are doesn't mean betraying that role. It means allowing yourself to become more than just that. So, how do you begin? What does it look like to become who you might be? You don't need to announce it. You don't need to explain it. You just start with something small. Say no once, even when you feel guilty. Sit down before the house is clean. Pick up something you loved. Not because it's useful, but because it's you. And maybe, just maybe, go back to that chair, the one you sat in when no one was watching, the one that's still there, quiet, waiting like a part of you that never left. Letting go isn't leaving, it's returning to the quiet version of you that never asked for attention, but always hoped you'd listen. Before anything changes out there, something has to soften in here. You've carried so many names for others, for survival. The strong one, the quiet one, the one who always says, I'm fine. But what if the weight you've been carrying isn't someone else's expectation, but your own? What if you've been strong for so long that you forgot how to ask yourself, do I still want to be this version of me? When I let go of what I am, Laozi wrote, he didn't mean erase yourself. He meant you don't have to be frozen. You're allowed to grow, to shift, to become. So just ask, is there something in you that's outgrown its name? And if you're not sure, maybe just look at that chair, the one you sat in when no one else was around, the one that's still there, soft, familiar, like a part of you that never asked to be forgotten. Sometimes letting go is how we return to the version of ourselves that always knew the way home. Maybe you don't need to let go of everything. Just one name, one version, one quiet expectation that no longer feels like home. You don't have to become someone new. You just have to stop being what you were never meant to stay. That's the real journey, not out into the world, but back into yourself. And if today gave you something, a breath, a softness, a reason to sit still again, then maybe that chair, the one you left pulled out, the one still sitting quietly in the light, is still waiting. You don't have to say goodbye. Just rest here for as long as you need. We'll be here,